Web Marketing That Works podcast, episode 17.
Welcome to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. Come behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments and listen in as amazing guests confess the truth about what really works. Now, here are your hosts, Adam Franklin and Toby Jenkins.
Hey there, everyone. It's Toby Jenkins from the Web Marketing That Works podcast, and I'm here with my co-host and mate, Adam Franklin. How are you, Ads?
Good, thanks, Tobes.
This is the show for people who love marketing on the web. You'll be taken behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments. We're going to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we'll confess what's failed and reveal the truth about what really works.
This show is brought to you by our new book, which is also called Web Marketing That Works, and it's brought to you specifically by the 33 free marketing templates that go with it. So you can get your hands on these templates by heading over to bluewiremedia.com.au/book.
Hey, Ad. So this is cool. I'm looking forward to today because we're all about growing your email list. So do you want to kick us off with some of the key concepts about how to grow an email list for a business?
Yeah, absolutely, Tobes. And I guess back in the early days of Blue Wire, we always believed in email marketing, and we had a decent sized list for us at the time. You know, it sort of grew from about 700 to about 1,500 people over sort of 3 or 4 years, which was okay, but it wasn't growing as quickly as we would like. And there was actually a sort of turning point for us, and that was realizing, one, the idea of having flagship content, which we've spoken about in previous shows, and that idea is having something of value that you give away and people can access that by opting in with their name and email address. So they get the piece of content and you get permission to communicate with them over time. And so when we released the web strategy planning template, which was to become our flagship piece of content, we actually, for the first 12 months, we had that up on our website for free with no registration required, which meant that people could download it and share it and, spread the word. And that was okay, except we didn't actually know who these people were that were downloading it. We had no idea where they were from and no way of communicating with them ever again, unless they came back to our site and decided to contact us. And so that had a fair few downsides to it, I guess. We were also very big fans of HubSpot. We're a partner of theirs today. But what we noticed with their approach was that most of their premium pieces of content were behind opt-in forms, which is basically, that form on the website where you fill in your name, your company, your email address, or however many fields it's up to you. HubSpot had about 8 or 9 fields. Some people just asked for email address only. And so we actually ran an experiment between just having it literally free with no registration required, which we've done for 12 months, versus then putting up the opt-in form on what's called a landing page, which is really just a page on your website where people actually download that piece of content. So we put up a form, and what we noticed was that in the previous 12 months, we were averaging about a 50% conversion rate on that page, meaning 1 in 2 people that visited the page would actually download the planning template. Then when we put the opt-in form up, we then had a conversion rate of about 30%. So that meant about 1 in 3 or 3 out of 10 people were actually filling in their name and email address to download that piece of content. So you can see the conversion rate dropped off by about 20%, which isn't too bad in my opinion, because I had thought it may drop off significantly, like by 10 or 20 times, because of other things that we'd read about people, putting opt-in forms up and it just sort of really killing conversions. But luckily that didn't happen to us. So what we realized then was that, yes, we're converting 20% fewer people, but we now had a way, one, we knew who they were, and two, we had a way to communicate with them and nurture them with more educational content. And to us, that was the real benefit. And what we noticed over the next few months was that our email subscription rate skyrocketed. We were plateauing around that 2,500 subscriber or contact list size. And then once we put that the opt-in form, our email list actually tripled over the next 12 months.
Yeah, it is a bit counterintuitive, I think, that that by blocking people, I guess or putting a hurdle in place, you get, we get the benefit of that. But I have been amazed by those results as well, ads, and the fact that it didn't drop off as much as we thought it would. And so, hopefully, I guess, part of that though is really the crafting of that landing page. And I'd really like to hit you up about that next, in terms of, what are the elements of a great landing page? Because clearly that has a huge impact on, your overall conversion rate, and not making it drop down, to 10% of what you were previously getting on a free download. So do you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, sure, Tobes. So let's look at the very basic things that make a landing page really good. The first is that obviously you have the product on there, or the download, so you know what you're getting. For us, it's the web strategy planning template. So we put up a picture of that as an icon so people can visually see what they're going to get. And of course, you need to have a opt-in form. So you need a form with, at the very minimum, a email address field, so they can type in their email address and then hit download. But we actually choose to have 4 fields. We have first name, last name, email, and then company is an optional field. So it doesn't matter if they don't fill that in, but we would really like to know their first name, last name, and email. So they're the two very basic things you need. Gotcha. Moving on from there, things like removing your main navigation off your landing page so that people don't have distractions and they can do what they're there to do, which is access that piece of content that you're offering to them. And if you've got your main navigation and your secondary navigation, there's as many as 10 or 20 different buttons that they can click on to distract them from, completing this process of accessing the content. So removing the main navigation makes the user's job a lot easier, or the person coming to your page is a lot easier for them to actually access that piece of content. So they're really the basics. Once people actually fill in their email address and hit download the template or access the tools or whatever they're doing, then that should actually trigger a thank you email where either you deliver that piece of content or you say thanks. You'll now and set their expectations for what happens now. You've got the piece of content. We'll be emailing you on a monthly or a weekly sort of basis. And just on that note as well, if you do intend to email people on a regular basis, if they download that piece of content, then that's also something that you need to specify on the landing page to set their expectation that this is the deal. We're happy to give you this valuable piece of content if you give us your name and email address and permission for us to communicate with you on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, and obviously with the proviso that they realize that they can opt out as soon as they get that first email. So it's not like we're locking them in forever. Hey.
Yeah, that's totally right. Yeah, absolutely. It's all got to be spam compliant, and it definitely should be ethically and legally. But of course, yeah, people can always just take the templates and run. That's totally fine from our point of view, and I think it should be from if you're doing it yourself, if you're a listener. Our job as marketers is to be out there educating and helping people. If people want just a tiny bit of our knowledge or IP, then for me that's totally fine. They can take it and run. What I would hope is that people want to stay on to receive more and more valuable information. But it's absolutely up to the person who's signed up.
Mm. Okay, so aside from landing pages in combination with great content ads, what are some other ways to grow your list?
Okay, so you've got your landing page definitely, which we've spoken about, but there are many other pages on your website where you can actually be converting visitors into subscribers. The first one is your homepage. Very often your homepage is one of the more highly trafficked pages of your website. So what I recommend having on your homepage, and something that we do ourselves, Tobes, is just to have a call to action on it, or a form on the homepage where, again, they can fill out their name and email address and actually download the flagship piece of content that you offer. Of course, on a homepage, you're not going to get as high a conversion rate because there's so many other distractions on the homepage. And the purpose of a homepage is much different to the purpose of a landing page. So there will be more information you put on your homepage. But having that call to action and that form is another way to attract subscribers. The other one is having a call to action at the end of all your blog posts or in the blog sidebar. It's up to you. But I typically prefer to have them at the end of a blog post. So I'll write a blog post, and at the end of that, I will either write in text a call to action along the lines of, if you're interested in downloading the web strategy planning template, click here and it's yours for free. Or alternatively, you could actually embed the form at the end of the blog post. So again, you give people the option, if they've liked the totally free blog content, they've then got the option of entering their name and email address and accessing your flagship or premium content.
To that point, Ads, what about, like text links in a blog post, like, literally linking from within the body of the blog post?
Yeah, that works particularly well, I think. If as long as it ties in, obviously it's got to tie into the context of the article, but I think text links within a blog post is very, very effective, particularly because people are reading the blog post and it is, it's just another way they can dive deeper if they're interested enough. So yeah, having text links in an email, because I've noticed you do that quite a bit, hey Tobe?
Yeah, I certainly try to. Where, as you say, only where it's relevant, because it does, as you say, it does allow people to dive into more detail if they are interested in that particular element of your article.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, to totally recommend that. And the final way to actually attract more subscribers is the most controversial one, and that is blog pop-ups. And we were certainly very skeptical and worried about putting up a blog pop-up because we realized that they can be very annoying and there's a lot of backlash against pop-ups if you tend to ask people. That said, people like Dan Zarella who's the social media scientist, who's written a number of books and actually works at HubSpot as well. We saw his presentation at Inbound 2012 a couple of years ago, Tobes, and he was a very big advocate of putting up a blog pop-up because he said in his studies that the bounce rate, so people clicking away from your site, there was no increase in that, but he said the amount of email subscribers you got as a result of it was huge. And so we're always up for an experiment. So we did that and we put up the blog pop-up form, and it actually had it increased email subscribers significantly. And again, just as he sort of predicted or aligned with his studies, his research on his own site, the number of people bouncing out didn't increase at all either. And I personally don't find it too annoying. I guess it is the point I want to make here. It can be annoying if it's done in the wrong way. And the wrong way to me is a pop-up coming up straight away as soon as you've arrived at the site, because as the visitor to the site, you don't know if it's a trustworthy site or whether you like them or whether the content's any good yet. So what I advocate doing is having a blog pop-up, but waiting 15 or 30 seconds or a minute. We actually choose to do it at the 30-second mark, but wait 30 seconds so that the person coming to your site, to your blog, can actually spend some time seeing if you're credible, reading your content, and then if they get the sense that they like you, then the blog pop-up can appear, and then they've got the option then of downloading a premium piece of your content, and again, asking for their name and email address and clicking the button so that they can access that content. In my experience, has worked very well. And I understand why it doesn't sit comfortably with some people, but you've got to view it in the way that you're giving someone who's arrived at your site the opportunity to find out more information from you and your best quality information, and starting that relationship by exchanging details, which is then putting their name and email into the form, and then you emailing them with your details. So it's just like swapping business cards at an event. If you both decide that there's something worth talking about after this initial interaction, then that's exactly what's going on when people sign up to premium content in your email list.
Can I ask you, it's on the pop-up, is for the audience, is it an offer that is made there? Like, is the exchange to say, or the call to action on the pop-up to say, download, you can get access to this piece of premium content if you subscribe? Or is it just, if you like the information you're just reading, please subscribe?
Oh, yes. You can do it both ways, but I totally recommend having a flagship piece of content on offer. I think there's got to be some incentive for people to sign up, and you've got to be leading with generosity and delivering value first, not just saying, hey, sign up for my newsletter, and then they've got to sort of take that leap of faith that the newsletter is going to be half decent. But if you're delivering a valuable piece of content straight off the bat, then that is the way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, cool. That makes a ton of sense. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover on that initial sort of how to grow your email list?
Yeah,
getting started.
Yeah, look, just a couple of tools, Tobes. People may be asking, well, what pop-up plugins do you use? Now, there's a couple that I've come across. We use WP Pop-Up plugin, which is a WordPress plugin. There is also the Sumo Me List Builder plugin, which is done by the AppSumo guys. That's free. And then there's also Pop-Up Domination, which I think costs $99. So there's three options. All are very popular. All have good reviews online. But we personally, at the moment, are using the WP Pop-Up plugin. So the final point I guess I'd like to make is once you've got your website set up to actually convert visitors into subscribers, then the next key to growing your email list is to increase the traffic back to your site so that more visitors means you'll be converting more people into subscribers. And the best way to drive traffic to your site is to be doing guest blogging, so writing blog posts for other people's website.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's awesome, Ad. So just a quick summary then, in terms of pick your best content, put a landing page with a form between the content and the visitor, so then they can make it really easy for them to fill that in and download and then access the content that you're doing. Try putting in other techniques, I guess, is to try putting calls to action on your homepage, also calls to action on your blog, and finally those blog pop-ups as three techniques to drive your email list. And then once you've got those ways of gathering emails, then it's about getting traffic to your website. So guest blogging and driving traffic, search engine optimization, which we've spoken about in previous episodes as well. All of that then drives people to the website so they can sign up and grow your email list.
Yeah,
Does that sound like a fair summary?
Yep, spot on there, TJ. Well done.
Cool.
All right, well, let's call that a wrap. As always, the show is brought to you by our new book, Web Marketing That Works, and the 33 free templates that go with it. You can get them at bluewiremedia.com.au/book. And our intent is to deliver actionable advice. Your feedback and questions are always welcome, so please let us know what you think via email or Twitter. I am adam.franklin@bluewiremedia.com.au and Franklin_Adam on Twitter.
And I'm toby.jenkins@bluewiremedia.com.au or Toby_Jenkins on Twitter. So if you've enjoyed the show, then we'd love you to leave an honest review on iTunes, and we'll give a shout out to the 5-star reviewers as always. So look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, guys. See you later.